Welcome back to Pagitt Radio. Broadcasting live out of the Twin Cities. We're going to call our friend Kyle B. Jones. Kyle is the atheist on our little program. And we're going to give him a call and chat about a project that we're working on together. It's going to be a doozy. We're asking people to consider inviting an atheist to church for an interview.
Yeah, right on.
And I just think this isn't a big
great
deal.
idea.
I don't understand why people are shaken by this, but they are.
People are shaken?
They
Who's
are shaken. They're shaken bacon by this.
Shaken bacon.
Well, I hope Kyle's
Kyle,
available
where are
to
ya?
chat. I don't know.
He just moved.
Hi, you've reached Kyle
That doesn't
Jones.
sound good.
Uh-oh.
That doesn't sound good. Okay, so here's this idea. Kyle and I have decided that we should partner together. His life and my life, the Doug Pagitt Radio audience and the atheist audience, and should come together around having atheists at church.
Yeah. Why not?
I can't think of a reason.
There are
Why
a lot
not?
of people at church. Well, what are the people who are shaken saying?
They're saying they basically feel intimidated, or that that churches are not church gatherings, church services, especially, are not really the right place to have an atheist.
They don't believe that anybody there is an atheist? Because I'm telling you, there are people there.
Well, that's been my point. Was like, look, of course there's going to be atheists, and atheists are going to be
closeted
around.
atheists all over the
So
place.
go ahead and have a chat with them, and
Yeah.
let the others know that this is okay. But people are when I've raised it with folks, they're like, oh, I don't know, I don't know that we could do that. Like, could totally have an interfaith dialogue. A lot of these folks, but not at all comfortable with the idea that you could have this conversation with an atheist. So Kyle's put together this Facebook page, facebook.com, invite an atheist to church, interview an atheist at church.
Yeah.
And we're trying to recruit, I'd like to see 100 churches. I'd like to see 100 churches on May 5th do an interview with an atheist. And what Kyle's willing to do is to encourage people to have, to help them find an atheist.
Are we going to have somebody at Solomon's Porch?
Yes, we're going to have somebody at Solomon's Porch.
It's exciting.
Yeah, and we're going to ask them. And Kyle's put together some great little. If we can get a hold of him, he'll tell us all about this. He's put together some questions,
Let's
and he's
just keep
willing
calling him.
to. Let's
Like
keep
we have
harassing him
Tourette's.
like some sort of a
I
high
don't
school
think
kid that
Tourette's
just
people
is,
do that.
wants to ask a girl out to the dance, and she just won't answer the phone. So he's going to keep calling. Not that I did that. It's not that I know what that was. Hey, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Hey, Doug, Victoria.
How
Hey,
are ya?
I'm doing swimmingly.
Oh,
Really good.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
and you find
And
yourself.
There's no swimming involved.
we
And-
were worried when you
Yeah,
didn't
which is
answer your
peculiar.
phone the
Yeah,
first
that's
couple
right.
times. Right?
Hey,
Oh yeah. How's it going? Sorry about that.
That's all right. Hey, tell us, we were chatting a little bit about this interview an atheist at church Sunday, May 5th, and I was mentioning Victoria. I'd like to see 100 churches around the country this year, and then thousands in the coming years, to have this kind of annual activity of inviting an atheist into church and to interview them. Not debate, not argue, but interview, to ask an atheist, why do you think the way you do? How could religious people engage differently with the atheists? So tell us a little bit more about this great idea you had.
Sure. I just kind of thought for a while about the need for not only interfaith involvement, but people who are not of a particular faith tradition. And I thought, it would just be a good idea, I think, if pastors and congregations could interview an atheist for a Sunday. And, that way it kind of puts flesh and bones, it humanizes an atheist, so, it's good for atheist and religious person relations for the atheist, but it's also good, I think, for the pastor and the congregation to kind of just, hear how a discussion, a cordial one, would go with an atheist at church, and to, maybe reach out to some of their atheist friends or something like that. So It was just an attempt to try to build some more bridges, and the friendly atheist Hemant Mata picked it up and wrote a story on it, and then it blew up. So now we're at about 150 or so atheists across the United States willing to be interviewed.
So we need to find a corresponding church to match
Yeah.
these 150 friendly atheists.
What kinds of things would you imagine churches asking? What kinds of things do you think atheists would like to talk about in church?
Yeah, that's a good question. That was kind of one of the first things that popped in my head. Like, well, what are they going to talk about? So
Yeah.
I have a simple five questions that kind of the pastor can utilize if they want. But what I'm also seeing happening is that a lot of times these pastors. So we have about 6 or 7 set up right now to be happening in the coming month or so. And then hopefully, as Doug mentioned, a bunch doing it on Cinco de Mayo this year.
No relationship between Cinco de Mayo and the atheist movement.
No.
It's not. You guys aren't claiming that as like your big religious day or anything. Like take churches back, atheists.
Well, maybe we could get some. Maybe we could get some Mexican atheists or some Mexican congregations, and
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's right.
But so the questions I had
Or we could wear hats. So we could wear big Mexican sombreros when we do the interview.
Oh my God!
Go
Okay,
out
the
for margaritas
5.
after.
What
I
are
think
the
there's
5
some
things,
pieces to
Kyle?
this.
Just ignore him. Just ignore the host.
Just ignore this guy on his own radio show. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle, for being the one person on the thing here that understands how this is supposed to go.
But I want to hear the 5
but
things.
no. So my questions were simple. Mine were like, what does your atheism mean to you? How do you how do you find meaning in the world? Where do your ethics or your morality come from? And what ways do you think you can, atheists can better find ways to work with religious people? And so those were just kind of my rough outline questions. But it turns out that a lot of these pastors, and understandably so, and the atheists, they want to meet first. So a lot of times they're going to meet, somewhere in whatever town they're in. Have lunch, have coffee, or whatever. And then that way, before the interview, they've already had some sort of a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can kind of do what they want to do. I don't want to kind of watch over it too much, because if they have some better questions or something else that's brought up, then that's cool.
But if people don't know how it would go or what would happen, the encouragement here of the atheists that you all know and are willing to connect with churches, or if pastors have connections to their own little pot of atheists somewhere, is to interview this person, to have a dialogue and not have it be a debate, because there's a lot of churches that are used to having like debates with atheists, where one person presents and another person presents, and it's a half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour long, and there's kind of a winner and loser. That's not the notion here. The notion here is to interview, to talk with, to listen, to hear from someone, and to start to develop some kind of mutual understanding and connectedness. And are you confident that the atheist that you'll suggest will be willing to do that and won't come with sort of this an attitude of telling religious people that they're fools or something?
Yeah, that was another concern that I had, was that either the atheist would be kind of militant and very heavy-handed, and call people in the congregation stupid or something, and then B, the pastor, maybe grilling him or trying to make him look, stupid or immoral or something. Now that's just not the plan. And
yeah, right.
Not so to the way that I have to vet that is not only for them to meet, if at all possible. If they can't meet in person, then they can talk on the phone. They can try to build some kind of a rapport with each other, and that way, they kind of know what they're working with. But I've also sent all these atheists willing to be interviewed forms to fill out, where they say where they live, how far they're willing to drive, whether they're okay with it being video recorded, because that's a big thing for this project. They're all going to be video recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they're all going to be video recorded and put up on our website and put up on our Facebook page so that lots of other people can watch what it is like for an atheist to be interviewed at church. And so, and then another question is, another question is kind of tell us a bit about yourself. And so we kind of can look through some of these documents and get somewhat of an idea on where this atheist is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can also have them talk to the pastor. So it kind of, if the pastor felt uncomfortable, they could tell me. If the atheist felt uncomfortable, they could tell me, and then we can just try to work things out from there. But at the same time, on the Facebook page, at the bottom, I put, just so you know, Kyle Jones will not be held responsible for
disclaimer.
Good choice.
Please don't
for
sue
whatever
me.
may happen. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I want this to all be good and beneficial, but
Right, because that atheist could convert right during the altar call. You better warn them. Sometimes those church meetings are so powerful.
Yeah, I should tell them to wear their atheist armor.
Oh, you tell them, I just suggest they don't stay through the whole thing, because if they want to,
Okay, so just interview and then out. They just walk out.
That's probably best.
Well,
All right, well, Kyle, I think this is a great idea, and if people want to get involved in it, there's a couple ways. They can be in touch with me or you if they know how to do that already, or they can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/interview-an-atheist-at-church, and you can start to find some information and offer yourself to be either an atheist or an interviewee or an interviewer, and I think this is interesting. What I've been surprised at is the people that I've mentioned this to, religious people mostly, are like, oh, that's a really bad idea. Pastors aren't going to want to do that. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, I don't think that's going to really go over very well. I was really surprised at the level of worry that people have, where I don't think these same people, in fact, I asked almost all of them, well, would you have thought that if they were going to interview a rabbi or interview an imam or something? Mm-hmm. No, that would be fine, but not an atheist. It is
anything but an atheist.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by that.
Well, atheists are. I always talk about this study, but the study by Penny Edgell showed that atheists are the least trusted group in America. So it doesn't really surprise me too much. But I have found the opposite.
Great.
The people that I've talked to, all the pastors are super amped. They're totally into it. Like they totally like the idea. Now bear in mind the churches that I look at, I tend to try to find sometimes more progressive, evangelical or liberal churches.
Sure.
Because if I send them to a Southern Baptist church, first of all, the pastor probably won't want to do it because the service is kind of like sacred in a sense. But it wouldn't go off well. So I tend to pick more progressive churches. So
that I thought I knew a pretty progressive crowd too, but strangely.
Yeah. So these pastors that I've talked to in the UCCs and the DOCs and the some Unitarians, but then some emergent folk. There's a couple of liberal Presbyterians. The United Methodist Church, a lot of Methodists. They're all these pastors are like, yeah, sure, totally. Send them our way. We'd love to have an interview.
Great. Well, I would love to see people.
I'm sure I've gotten emails where they've been from atheists going, oh, come on, do you really think this is going to help? Like, aren't you just saying it's okay for there to be churches, and this is, a stupid idea. And then I've had, religious people go, yeah, what's the point? Mm-hmm. Well, to me, it's like, it's better to try than not.
Well, that's the whole point right there, right? Is that people don't, that.
And I promise you, there are going to be people sitting in those pews who are going to feel like somebody just opened a window for them and just gave them an opportunity to consider something that they had maybe kept hidden or were afraid of, and just allow people to air things out, have some transparency, and to consider their own thinking about it, or feel like it's okay to talk about skepticism, doubts, on wherever they fall on the continuum. That's a really good thing for everybody.
All right, Kyle.
Yeah, I can't see any. I mean, I'm probably pretty optimistic and idealistic, but I see this only turning out good for people.
Yeah, me too. I think it's great.
So
Listeners,
yeah.
let me know, let Kyle know if you want to host an atheist, because you're running a church, or if you know an atheist that would be willing to offer themselves up for this project. Be in touch with Kyle, and he will find somebody nearby them to make this happen. And the Facebook page, is that the best place to direct people?
Yeah, you can just go to the Facebook page, or you can type in "interview an atheist at Church Day" on Google. You can type in Kyle Jones and find me, and something will come up. And also, you're planning on interviewing an atheist, correct?
Yeah, we're going to do it at our place as well.
Yeah, okay. So then that'll be for Cinco de Mayo, right? With your sombrero.
Yeah, we're going to do it on May 5th, and we're going to have a Mexican theme.
Okay.
Yeah. All
right,
it's
great.
going to be, I mean, it's going to be it's perfect. Cinco de Mayo Atheist Day. Solemn sports. Hey, Kyle, thanks a lot.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the advertisement, and send us your inquiries.
You bet.
Great.
You bet.
Thanks,
we think this is a great idea, and hope everybody jumps in on it. Thanks, Kyle. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Bye bye.